Uh, so BooTube, a funny thing happened last night when I was recording for Supergirl Season 3, Episode 3, titled Far From the Tree. My video stopped recording. So sad. Hang on. See this? Go get him! Sorry, that was my dog's toy. But anyway, if I remember correctly, I kind of left off with, Jean and his father, where his father, Myron, thinks that Jean is a white Martian disguise, and Jean pretty much gives this memory. A memory only, obviously, these two share together. And it was a very touching memory. I actually cried seeing the memory, because Supergirl also witnessed it. They ended up in Myron's home. Myron or Jean, one of the two. But, Jean does a mind thing where he shows a memory to try to convince his father, hey, I am your son, right? And the memory was so touching, because apparently Myron comes home early from his prayer thing, because he's part of like a prayer group thing on Mars. And he greets Jean's two twin daughters, right? His granddaughters. He's like, did you keep a secret and all that stuff? And they're all happy and everything. He's like, you're here, you're here. And then next thing you know, you see the camera pan over to Jean, and he's like, so happy. He's like, you made it, right? And I'm like, okay, there has to be some sort of special occasion or something, right? And turns out Myron pretty much left work early to spend time with his son on his birthday. And apparently Jean's daughters knew about this, but they kept it a secret from their dad. And it's like, it was so touching. I actually legit cried. I was like, oh my god. This is the most beautiful father-son story I've ever seen in my life. And it involves granddaughters. It's like, oh my god. Oh, it was so touching. Especially when after the memory happened, Myron, like, just turned to Jean, and he's like, Jean! And they just embrace, and they're, like, practically in tears. And I'm like, this is so effing beautiful. I'm crying so much, inside and out right now, just waterfall, right? And that wasn't the only emotional part of this entire episode. During all this whole White Martian and, of course, Myron, John's father, we get to meet Maggie's father. So apparently, during the episode, Alex and Maggie are talking about they're talking about how they do have a discussion together where Maggie tells Alex about how both of her parents pretty much disowned her for being a lesbian. And I was like, that literally broke my heart. I was like, what? I was like, really? I mean, I know some of the older generation, they don't like the whole a lesbian gay thing, and it's like, I get that. It's hard for older generation to accept that that's the norm now. There are LGBT and all that stuff everywhere now. And so the older generation, I get why, it's hard for them to adjust to that, because they were born and raised differently in a world where that wasn't normal. But to disown your own child, especially considering we learned from Maggie's literally an only child. So basically her parents disowned their only child only because she preferred to love women instead of men. So it's like, it was heartbreaking. But then Alex, she's like, my mom, my family, they're you'll never know. They could change. It's been a while since you've seen them. Maybe they gotten used to the whole norm being, lesbians and gays. Maybe they've changed. Invite them to our engagement shower, right? And of course, Maggie's like, no, that's not happening, right? Just go to sleep and all that stuff. But pretty much while Alex is sleeping, we see Maggie get up in the middle of the night, and she actually calls her father. I'm not sure if she's legitly talking to her father or just leaving a message to her father, but she actually does invite her dad. And, she's like, bring mom too, all that stuff. Come to my shower. I'm getting married. I'm happy and all that stuff. And it was a beautiful scene, because that took a lot of courage for Maggie to do, and it's not easy for people to come out. Like, I have one gay cousin on my dad's side. I have a lesbian cousin on my dad's side, and I have a lesbian cousin on my mom's. And on my dad's side, it was hard for those two to pretty much come out. Especially my cousin that went she's a lesbian, and it's hard for her to come out to her parents, right? And, you know, it's heartbreaking. You know, like, sometimes it's like I said, I get how the older generation they were raised differently. They were born into a world where that's just wrong to them. But it's just heartbreaking. You know, and oh my god, I'm crying again! I cried watching the episode! Oh my god! And I was crying last night thinking about it before my video got cut off. Shout out to the 3 cousins that I'm talking about. You know who you are. The 2 cousins on my dad's side. The 2 cousins on my dad's side that I'm actually talking about, they're actually brother and sister. So shout out to them. I love them so much. And shout out to my cousin on my mom's side who I'm talking about here. I'm not going to say names. I will do their initials. My 2 cousins on my dad's side, their initials, her initials are AH, and the other one is SH. I love you both. And the cousin on my mom's side, JR. I love you guys. I love you 3 to death. You guys are the bravest people I've ever known. But anyway, they end up having the shower, and of course, beforehand, Maggie ends up picking up her father, who she's like, why didn't you tell me? I could have picked you up to the airport. It's like, oh no, the bus ride was fine. It's like, you want to go eat out? She's trying to bond with her father, and he's like, no, your party thing's like a little later, right? I could wait. A little awkwardness, right? And there was some awkwardness, and I kind of thought that he wasn't going to show up anyway, you know? But he did end up showing up. And there was a beautiful, touching moment where there's this beautiful little poster thing, and it was filled with pictures of Alex, right? And he's like, where's your pictures? And Maggie's like, well, I have no pictures. And it's understandable. She was literally disowned by her parents. She has no baby pictures with her, right? So there was a really touching moment where the father actually took a picture of Maggie when she was a little girl out of his wallet, kissed it, and put it there. And I was like, maybe he's learning to be accepting. Maybe it'll be like Myron and John, you know? But then, of course, all hell broke loose because there was this moment where they're opening presents. And there was a moment where Maggie's like, Alex, you're the best thing that's ever happened to me. And they share a beautiful, passionate kiss. And everyone's like looking on and all happy, except for Maggie's father. He looks disgusted and pissed, and he just puts his drink down and just storms out. And after the kiss, Maggie goes after him. And they have this really just, I wouldn't say heartfelt, I would say like heart-wrenching conversation outside where he's like, you're just gonna leave just like that? And he's just mad at her, saying, you spit in my face. And she's like, what exactly did I do? It's because I love somebody? That's why you're pissed off? And he pretty much goes into detail where he's like, I came here at 9, went to work at 12. Everyone made fun of me because I was a Mexican and all that stuff, and just bringing up all this stuff, all the struggles he went through just so his kids wouldn't have to go through that bullshit, right? And he's like, the one thing people hate more than a Mexicano is a homosexual. And that was like, he had a point. There's still some people in the world, especially the older generation, they're very close-minded about not just homosexuals, but from other people that are not from America, you know? It doesn't have to be Mexicanos or African Americans. It could be like Asians like us. There's some people in the world that just don't want to accept us because we're not born in America. You know what I mean? Or even us generation, like Asian, Mexicano,